The first question asks about how the speaker gain attention, and as we all know, there are several methods to gain attention, which are related topics to the audience, state the importance of the topic by making the series of the segment, which helps to elevate the interest of the audience, and then the questions the audience by giving rhetorical questions, and then we can use quote and share stories. And the last but not least, using visual aid, because the audience tend to be more attracted to colored images, and that's how we get attention. Based on the test that we have assigned, we can say that the speaker use the method of sharing stories in order to gain the attention of the audience. He state about that his experience in the intro. The second question is about does the speaker establish his credibility? And the answer is yes. The speaker establishes his credibility when the speaker states about his occupation, which is as an architect. The speaker also talk about the use of the woods, where it can be as a storage to store a large amount of carbon dioxide, which subsequently will increase the oxygen level and then will be beneficial to the mankind. By stating all of these facts, it shows how credible and how qualified it is to talk about the speech, and it makes the audience to be more confident and more interested in listening to the speech. The third question is about, does the speaker preview the body of speech? And the answer is no, because by preview the body of speech, according to the test, is that the speaker in the intro, the speaker states about the reason why they have to listen to the speech, and signaling that the body of speech is about to start. And based on what we have analyzed throughout the speech that we have received, we can say that the speaker failed to preview the body of speech, because in the intro, the speaker only talks about his experience, and his experience that related to the wood, and his experience with his grandfather, where his grandfather taught him to work with the wood since he was child, and he also built the several buildings which is in different sizes and style. And that's all from me.
The main point of the speech. There are two main points in the speech. The first main point is, today half of us live in a city, and that number is going to grow to 75%. The speaker wants to state that our community that live in the city keep increasing day by day. Because of that, in the next 20 years, 40% of us need a new house. The second main point is, woods help in reducing the emission of carbon dioxide and subsequently act as a storage. This can be seen in the text where the speaker mentioned that now our two solutions to climate are obviously to reduce emission and find storage. This is because wood has natural characteristics that soak up the carbon dioxide and give off the essential gas for mankind known as oxygen. When blocks of wood are put together in one structure, it can increase the capacity to store the carbon dioxide and release the emission of gas. The next question is how the main points are supported. According to Lucas, supporting material are important to listeners to accept what speaker says. There are three major kinds of supporting materials, such as example, statistic, and testimony. Speaker give example to listeners to support his main point. 1 billion people in the world live in slum. 100 million people in the world are homeless. With this example, it proves that our community are increasingly growing bigger. Because of that, we need more houses to accommodate all the people, means that we need more buildings. Next, the speaker also used statistics to support his main point. He used the United States statistic about the impact of greenhouse gases. Almost half of greenhouse gases related to building industry. And if you look at the energy, it's the same story. Unfortunately, he did not mention the exact amount of the statistic. The other question is, what the organization does the speaker use? According to Lucas, there are 5 types of speech organization. The first one is chronological order. To chronological order means that the speech is arranged following the time order or time pattern. The second one is special order. Special order means that the main point is proceed from top to the bottom. The third one is causal order. Causal order when the speech shows the cause and effect relationship. The fourth one is problem and solution order, which the main point is divided into two parts. The last one is topical order. Topical order means that the speech is divided into sub-point and each of which become the main point. After we read and analyzing the speech, we can see that the speaker used problem-solution order to arrange his speech. This is because his speech have two main points, which is the first one, our problem that our community face right now, and the second part is how to overcome the problem. So the speaker used the problem-solution order to arrange.
My name is MUCHUN. My magic number is 257232. My presentation is about topic 7 to 9. The topic 7 is how does the speaker use the resource of the language? Explain. The language used in speech is clear and concise. The speaker's choice of word is understandable, and the audience are able to understand. When they hear the word, he also uses very specific concerned word and avoiding the abstract word. According to Lucas' concern, which is referred to general complex quality or aptitude, his choice of wood demanded the attention to the avoidance. For example, wood is my favorite materials. I will tell you the story about the wood. Part of what I like about it is that whenever people walk in my wooden building, I notice a completely different reaction. I've never seen anyone walk into one of my buildings hung in steel or concerned clumps, but I've actually seen happiness wooden building. He also tries to use simple English or for everyone to understand. Based on the passage, the speaker did a good job for giving the talk, and the passage explained the content. The topic 8 is what are the types of connective used in the speech? Are the connective effectively used to give example? My answer is according to Lucas, there are 4 types of speech connective, which is transition, internal, previous, internal, summaries, and simples. There are 2 types of connective used in this speech, which is transitions and simples. Transitions are used effectively because it helps the audience think that the speaker is just perfecting their thoughts and will be moving on to another scene. Technically, it states both ideal speaker is leaving and what the speaker is coming up to. Additionally, speaker uses symbols to help with keep track of the contact to be discussed. Symbols is a very brief statement that indicate exactly the speaker in the speech. For example, transition used by the speaker is now. How are we going to do that when we are earning at this rate and we think about wood building only as 4 stories? Meanwhile, the symbols that the speaker using the next big issues before deforestation. Topic 9 is what kind of reasoning does the speaker rely most throughout the speech? Explain. No matter how strong the evidence in the speech that we give, the speaker will not be persuasive unless listeners able to grasp reasoning. Based on the Lucas reasoning is extension of reasoning in other aspects of life. It is a process of drawing a conclusion based on evidence. Throughout the speech, mostly speaker give out reasoning from specific instance. Reason from special instance means the speaker will process from a number of particular facts to a general context. Conclusion, as for example, the conflict over how we solve the problem of serving the 3 billion people who need housing and climate change, a head-on conflict that is coming or has already happened. This means that the speaker wants to give reason for the daily observation of the problem, which means wood will be part of the solution. As a tactic, wood is only material that can be grown by the power of the sun. As the tree grows in the forest and releases oxidations and absorbs carbon dioxide, it dies and falls to the forest floor, which is returns the carbon dioxide to the atmosphere or underground. If it burns the forest fire, it will return carbon to the atmosphere as well. But if you take wood and put it in buildings, furniture, or wooden toys, it actually has amazing ability to store carbon and provide a way for us to isolation it. Thanks. This is my part.
Question is, what type of emotional appeals does the speaker use? Are they effectively used? Explain. So basically, there are 3 types of emotional appeals, which are use emotional language, develop with example, and speak with sincerity and conviction. The type of emotional appeals that the speaker uses is developing with example and yet uses it effectively. Develop with example is often a better approach than relying on emotionally charged language. It can let emotional appeal grow naturally out of the content of the speech. So here's how the speaker used a vivid example for emotional appeal. The first skyscraper, technically, and the definition of a skyscraper is 10 stories tall, believe it or not, but the first skyscraper was the one in Chicago, and people was terrified to work underneath this building. So people who listen to this speech like that will never forget about it, and they may well be moved to the action as the speaker intends. And let's continue with the 11th question. What methods are used to prepare the audience for ending the speech? So actually there are 2 types of methods for ending a speech, which are crescendo ending and dissolve ending. The speaker used the method of crescendo ending because crescendo ending is the conclusion in which the speaker builds a zenith of power and intensity before finishing the speech. For example, the speaker said, "Buildings are starting to go up around the world. There are a building in London that is 9 stories. So a new building that just finished in Australia that I believe is 10 or 11. We are starting to push up the height of this woods building, and we are hoping, and I'm hoping that my hometown, the Condor, actually potentially announced the world's tallest at around 20 stories in the not so distant future." So and he also said, "And I believe the race is ultimately on." It shows that the speaker ended the speech with a zenith of power and intensity, where there will be more and more skyscrapers around the world. And the last but not least, the question is, how does the speaker reinforce the central idea? Explain. So the speaker used a method of summarizing her speech. Stating the main points is the easiest way to end a speech. For example, he said, "The reason we picked it is because this is a technical university, and I believe that wood is the most technologically advanced material I can build with. Thank you." Ending. The speaker used the method of crescendo ending because crescendo ending is the conclusion in which the speaker builds a zenith of power and intensity before finishing the speech. For example, the speaker said, "Buildings are starting to go up around the world. There are a building in London that is 9 stories. So a new building that just finished in Australia that I believe is 10 or 11. We are starting to push up the height of this woods building, and we are hoping, and I'm hoping that my hometown, Wakanda, actually potentially announce the world's tallest at around 20 stories in the not so distant future." So, and he also said, "And I believe the race is ultimately on." It shows that the speaker ended the speech with a zenith of power and intensity, where there will be more and more skyscrapers around the world. And the last but not least, the question is, how does the speaker reinforce the central idea? Explain. So, the speaker used a method of summarizing her speech. Stating the main points is the easiest way to end a speech. For example, he said, "The reason we picked it is because this is a technical university, and I believe that wood is the most technologically advanced material I can build with." Thank you.